Greetings, everyone, and welcome to the 20th edition of Cinema Effect. I love how in last week's episode, when I said that, the mic had a spasm, so you can add that to Cinema Effect lore, as you would say, Fitzy. I'm Zach, and I'm joined by Mission Impossible's newest fanboy, Jaden.
I like that. Yeah.
Thanks. And JC, Jesus Christ, John Cena, aka Fitzy, aka Liam.
Hi.
Did you spend a
I
while
feel like yours
thinking
is
about
just going to get
Oh,
longer
sorry.
every single week. Did I spend a while thinking about it?
Yeah, or did you just do that now?
I thought about it 10 minutes ago, to be honest. So,
right.
intermediate,
Yeah.
sort of in the middle of the two, yeah. Well, this is Cinema Effect, the podcast where we review and talk about a different movie every single week. Podcast, I feel like I said that word wrong. The show posts every Monday. You can find us on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So subscribe, rate us on all the apps. Listen to the show wherever you can. We appreciate you doing so. Remember to submit your questions, thoughts, reviews for next week's film. Submit shit, whatever you like. We'll read it at the end of next week's show in the YouTube comment section of this episode. But we've got our specific question prompt of the week that we'll be asking you. And the question of next week's show will be, in advance, what's your favourite TV show ever? What's your favourite TV show? Pretty simple question. There's a lot of great potential answers. So come out of the woodworks for that one. Let us know your answer to that. I'm looking forward to reading them. This week, not next week. This week we're doing a little film you may have heard of. You know, some might call it a cult classic, I think. And it's Blade Runner. We're doing this as part of our kind of franchise end of every month reviews. We'll be doing Blade Runner 2049 next month, which I'm stoked for. But we got to get this one done first to get to that one. So Blade Runner opened in the US on the 25th of June 1982. The film was directed by Ridley Scott. It was written by Hampton Fancher, David Webb Peoples, who Jaden pointed out last week is the same writer from Unforgiven. So good for him. His second appearance on the show. Friend of the show now, I guess, officially. But it's based on the Phillip K. Dick novel titled Do Androids Dream of Electric Sheep? That's what the book's called, right? I said that off the top of my head. I didn't write it down.
Yeah, no, that's right.
Hmm.
Awesome. Okay. Blade Runner stars Harrison Ford, Rutger Hauer, and Sean Young. The primary studio was Warner Brothers, who kind of notoriously meddled with the film a lot, leading to multiple different edits of Blade Runner, and it's kind of become a thing over the years of just the kind of editing fiasco of the film prior to it coming out, who had creative vision, who had creative control of the movie. It's kind of all over the place, but we'll get more into it. It had a budget of $28 million and a worldwide box office of $41 million. So people at the time apparently not too into it. We got the genre being sci-fi thriller. Blade Runner had a runtime of 1 hour and 57 minutes, and the synopsis is a Blade Runner must pursue and terminate 4 replicants who stole a ship in space and have returned to Earth to find their creator. All right, cool. Fitzy, what did you think of Blade Runner on your second viewing?
I thought it was well made. It's well made, but it still bored me this time. It's still dull, and but I think the ending is somewhat pretty incredible. So, yeah.
Oh, cool. Okay. How about you, Jaden?
I know we joked about it last week, but this time around I actually did enjoy it a bit more. I still think it's many problems, and I still don't think it's fantastic or anything. But I did like it better. $41 million back then today is like $110 million, so I mean there's a bit of interest.
Oh, sure. Yeah, but it wasn't even double its budget though. But anyway. Yeah, Blade Runner. Yeah, this movie's really boring. Which yeah, I assume both of you guys feel that way based off that, but I don't even think this movie's very good. I had seen it before, the philosophical elements of the movie, the technical aspects of the movie went over my head at that time. So when I first watched it, I was just kind of left with a boring movie. And this time, so I was kind of going in thinking, okay, this movie's probably going to bore me, but at least I'll be able to appreciate its technical aspects, and I'll be able to, take some of those things away from it at least. And I think it really fails in all those levels. I think the script is really bad. I think the characters are terrible. It's visually fine. I think some of the set design's impressive. Some of the costume design's really cool, and it's obviously, very influential. As so much shit since and sci-fi since has really copied from it. So it's cool that it exists then for that. And there's a lot of cool visuals, and just, we get plenty of shots of Harrison Ford in his car driving somewhere in space in LA, in futuristic LA, in the sky, and you get, this really well realized kind of futuristic vision of LA, which I did enjoy, but the movie kind of feels self-indulgent in a lot of ways. It just takes its sweet old time to get to the most basic plot points possibly imaginable. So yeah, I think honestly the plot and its story is so poor that like none of its innovative kind of features can really bring it up, in my opinion. But yeah, do you guys think that its visual element, obviously being, like I said, so influential, is kind of its strongest aspect on a rewatch, or is that something that really stuck with you guys about it this time?
It's definitely one of its strongest elements, along with the music. But I think the script is strong. It's just very poorly paced. Like the actual story of like how this apathetic human kind of comes to life through, like these curious robots and all that is kind of a good story in itself. But yeah, I think that the world building and the technical elements probably one of the better parts. But I don't think it like makes the movie like 100%. So.
Yeah, no. How do you feel about that, Jane? Because I'm glad Fitzy mentioned the music. That stood out to me this time.
Yeah, I think Fitzy's right in saying that they're two of the strongest points. I think I love the just like the Blade Runner aesthetic. Like I think like in terms of like cyberpunk on the big screen, I think like this is one of the most well-rounded and most appealing, portrayals of it. I mean, like, like what else do you have? Like, I mean, like, Zion's an ugly as type of cyberpunk. So
terrible.
I really love this, and like, what the sequel, like the way the sequel enhances it. I love the brutalist architecture, and I love, there's just these absolutely like, massive, like, beyond comprehension size, like, skyscrapers that have their own like kind of self, they have their own like little community within them, and like, just thinking about how dense that is, I love. But I mean, like, that's not obviously meant to be your main point when watching the film. So I mean, yeah, I love the world. But yeah. I really love. It's kind of a weird thing, but I love the product placement in this movie. I love the Coke signs. I love I think there's Nike signs at points, and there's other shit too. But it's this weird. I don't know if I've ever been able to compliment that in a movie in my life, but it really adds to the whole aesthetic for me. Every time we get that Coke billboard, it's like, oh wow, this really does ground the world in a really interesting way. And it really, I don't know, it's kind of bizarre how just that visual of the Coke sign taking up the prominence of the frame with everything else around it. It's like, it really adds to the aesthetic, in my opinion. Yeah, it kind of adds like that cool urban hell type thing, the fact that like, like even in the future where we, exactly, like advertisement is just shoved down our throats constantly. Like, it's something that like, Phillip K. Dick explores in one of his other short stories. I can't recall what it is, but like, he makes comments say how like, as he drives like one of like the hyperlanes in space, there's just advertisement everywhere. So, like it's nice that they have a bit of, of Dick's, some of that brought into this film as well.
Yeah, and even just like the strikiness, how striking the red is of the billboard is like just, it's just visually appealing. But yeah. I don't have a lot of historical context for music. I don't know if you guys have it more than me. Is that this kind of electro music that's used in this movie, and that really, it's dope, and it really just immerses you in the movie? Is that something that was, prominently featured in pop culture prior to this movie, or was that another aspect of why this movie is so revolutionary?
Yeah, I couldn't help you with that. I'm not too sure.
Okay, because I don't know if anything like that predates this. Regardless, though, we appreciate it. The music's awesome. It was honestly probably my favourite part of the movie watching it this time around. Well, there's a lot to dive into with the story, and we've already brought up the script a few times. I feel like a good gateway into that side of the movie that we're probably going to spend most of our time on is Deckard as a protagonist, played by Harrison Ford, of course. Just broadly, Fitzy, do you like Deckard as a character? Do you think he's a good character?
Well, something I kind of figured out before watching it, just like reading reviews and stuff, is Deckard's kind of you could call him a boring character, but it's kind of part of his character to be like apathetic and like not, personality-less, kind of, because that's kind of part of the story, like how he is kind of brought to life by the replicants in a way.
But he's a very boring character. He's a very bland character. He's got zero charisma, which is such a counter for what Harrison Ford normally does, which I like. I appreciate that he kind of took on a different role in that way. But I struggle, and maybe you guys can help me out on this. I struggle to even... It's fine if your character's boring or a bland person, but I struggle to even think of a character trait that he has. That's not... Obviously, humour, it's non-existent, that's fine, but I don't even really know who this person is.
I don't know, I think that's true, but it's also like still part of the intention, so it's kind of hard to critique in that way. But
so, are you saying you agree that he has no character traits?
Yeah, he pretty much doesn't care and doesn't have any really defining character traits, except that he's like kind of nihilistic-ish in a way. But yeah,
do you reckon he is nihilistic?
Well, just in the sense that he doesn't really care about anything at the start of the movie, at least.
Yeah.
I don't know though.
Do we know why he doesn't care at all? I'm just trying to think.
Nah, because the book does it well. They explain why he's kind of in this dejected state, but the film kind of just removes any reason to it. I think we're kind of just meant to assume that in this overbearing, type of oppressive world, not oppressive, but like in the fact that it's also just grey and, dull. I mean, there is neon, pretty much everywhere, but like it's so overwhelmingly brutal. I think it's meant to just like be that like most people are kind of just that, down type of thing.
From some dialogue, we kind of gather everyone just dreams of getting the hell off this hellscape of Earth. So yeah, that's fair. Well, what in the book, Jaden, do you know what drives him in the book?
Well, what drives him in the book is the fact that he wants a real sheep instead of an electric sheep. Like, it's literally in the title. Like, that's... Like
oh, really?
Yeah, so, like, I mean, in this one, we get a bit of it when they talk about, like, just kind of like the owl and shit. But, like, to have a real animal in this world is, like, a symbol of class and, like wealth and type of stuff. So, like, and, like, he used to have a sheep, but then, like, his sheep died, so they gave him an electric one. But now he wants to get that real sheep back, and that's why he even agrees to go for the androids this time, is so he can get enough money to buy the new sheep or whatever. I'm pretty sure, if I remember correctly.
Right. Okay.
It's like, and like from the start, we're told that this is like, what his driving factor is, and that's why like. And, like, there's this thing called, like, a mood organ in there, and, like, it kind of, like, controls... Like, you can program your mood for the day as well, so if he wants to perk himself up, he can, and stuff like that. and he has a wife as well. I mean, like, that's different. I mean, like, the Deckard in the book is a lot better than the Deckard in the film.
Well, it sounds it. Right, interesting. Well, okay, well, that's a interesting motivation right there. Already, he wants this sheep because of what it represents. That's cool.
Mm.
This movie gave me nothing.
I think I haven't read the book, but I think like that's kind of would be a metaphor for like wanting a real connection, and I guess Rachel would be that, like that real connection, even though she's a replicant.
Oh, okay, interesting. But do you? I guess I don't know if it's the script, if it's Ford's performance, but this movie doesn't sell me at all on the idea that he really wants a real connection. Other than, I guess he's kind of depressed a lot, which is, okay, that's fair enough, I guess. But all we really get is the really creepy scene between him and Sean Young and what's her face, bloody Rachel. That's kind of all we get, and he doesn't. I don't know. I just don't like it at all. It's just this weird relationship and dynamic, and it doesn't make me resonate with his motivations at all, because I feel like on paper, a human being wanting a real connection with something else is a pretty straightforward motivation that's pretty easy to get behind. And whether it's, like I said, the performance, the script, whatever it is, none of them come together to make me feel that for Deckard at all.
Yeah. I mean, I feel like, in the sequel, it feels much more like Kay actually... You actually believe that Kay wants something real, but it could go either way with Deckard, I guess.
Yeah. For Deckard, it's just... I don't know. It doesn't sell me on it in any way. There's nothing that happens to him, nothing he goes through that really makes me feel that for him. And I think that's a shame, considering the amount of time we get of him just doing nothing. If us being exposed to the extended periods of time he seems to be lonely and isolated and depressed, if that's all that's meant to give us, then that's an interesting intention. I think that's a pretty poor way of showing that, because this movie's plot is just the most dull shit ever, just investigation work 101. Go to the scene of the crime, analyse photos, go where the clue was. Enhance, exactly, enhance. Found the snake skin, go to the market where the snake skin was. Like, holy shit, this is boring. This would be boring. It's a boring plot in any movie, and it sucks that this movie decides to go about hitting these plot points in the most drawn-out way possible. You know, like, the enhanced scene is such a funny example of it. I actually don't hate that scene, but it's a good example of that same kind of thing occurring multiple times in the movie, where he's doing something so simple. He's just trying to enhance the photograph to find the next clue. That's literally all it is. And it takes so long to get to the most basic plot point ever. And that happens multiple times in the movie. It's incredibly frustrating for me. How do you feel about the enhanced scene, Fitzy?
Yeah, like you said, it's just not... There's no reason for it to be that drawn out. And I realized this time that a lot... I don't think there is that much dialogue in this film either. There's a lot of time spent on kind of just, the audio and the visuals and just kind of the atmosphere, I guess. And some plot points just take a hell of a long time to get to them and get to the next one. So I think that's definitely the movie's biggest problem, aside from maybe whatever happened with Deckard, like Harrison Ford's acting or the script Deckard.
The drawn out nature of the plot points wouldn't bother me so much, because you're right, it does take so long. The movie does try in these extended periods of time to get you immersed in the setting, and that's fine. And it just wouldn't bother me as much if the plot points are actually interesting. Like, if we got to the next beat, no matter how long it took, if we got there and it was like, oh, wow, that's really interesting. That's an interesting development. That's an interesting reveal. That changes the dynamic of the story in some interesting way I hadn't foreseen. But instead, it's just, detective novel that a 10-year-old could have written. And that's what kind of makes the nature of being drawn out so frustrating for me.
Yeah. Well, in a way, the sequel does do that, because like the sequel is still kind of slow, but when you do get to that next plot point, there are like reveals and like things that change the story.
Yeah, exactly. We will.
I know, I'm just saying.
Good teaser.
Sorry to cut in, but like, just out of curiosity, did you guys watch the final cut? Because I'm pretty sure that's the one I watched.
That's great. I'm sorry. I meant to bring that up. Yeah, I watched the final cut. Yeah.
Right. Okay.
So have you guys had a chance to? Do you know like the differences between the cuts? Because I watched a couple of YouTube videos of just seeing the comparisons, and they're pretty interesting.
I know nothing about.
I don't know. I think like one of them has his narration, and I know that the final cut has the unicorn, which the original didn't. I think, but I think that's all I know pretty much.
Well, yeah. So the final cut, the main differences are that, which is the one we watched and the one that Ridley Scott, he apparently edited himself, so it's meant to be the definitive cut of the film, and they've added the unicorn dream bit, which is interesting, and the main other takeaway is the fact that there's no Harrison Ford voiceover, which Fitzy, that doesn't sound like Jaden has. Have you heard this Harrison Ford voiceover? How terrible is it?
Oh yeah, I mean he was trying to trying to make it better.
I find that so funny. Yeah, so Harrison Ford is a bunch of voiceover in the. I think it's both the theatrical and director's cut. There's 3 cuts of the movie, main cuts, and yeah, he basically is just delivering exposition to the audience in these slower moments. And Warner Brothers wanted those added in so the audience wouldn't be totally left behind, and to try and contextualize the movie a little bit more for them. And yeah, the voiceover is terrible because, like you said, Harrison Ford is deliberately trying to make it sound terrible because the dialogue's terrible. So he's trying to give a terrible performance so they won't use it, hopefully, but they do use it in those versions of the movie, and boy, it's really bad. But outside of that, the other main difference is the ending, of which in this final cut we watched, the movie ends with them just kind of going down. Here's the moment of the origami in the corridor, and they just run out, and the elevator closes, and then you cut to credits. But there's an additional scene in the other cuts of the movie where they drive out of LA, and they're in the wilderness. There's just forests everywhere. It's like really pretty scenery that completely contrasts the rest of the movie, and a lot of that is actually, interestingly, like B-roll that Stanley Kubrick didn't use from The Shining, that they just copy-pasted into there in the ending, which is really weird. Did you see the ending, Fitzy? That ending?
I think so. So yeah, he's driving in the car and he's with Rachel and he's like narrating.
Yeah, and it weirdly we get like when the credits are rolling, we get all these helicopter shots of beautiful wilderness.
All right. Yeah, I definitely think this is the best ending and probably the best final cut. It seems like it at least.
Yeah, it seems like it. I think the unicorn bit we'll definitely get into it. It seems pretty important. So the fact that wasn't in there first time, strange.
Yeah, but also the origami I think is good, and like not the doing the car thing, which is probably unnecessary.
Yeah, right. Because the car thing kind of gives the ending an entirely different tone, a super happy tone. And that feels a bit out of place, definitely. But at the same time, like, I do agree with you. I think this ending's the best of the ones I've seen. Like, God, who knows how many cuts of this movie there really are. But the ending still felt abrupt to me. It was strange. I felt like, because I didn't know that the changes in the other cuts were endings, like were ending changes. But it gave me the feeling immediately when the credits hit in this cut, oh, well, the other cuts must have had a different ending, because it felt super strange and jarring. Just to kind of, the way the elevator shut and it just cuts to credits didn't feel like it built to the credits at all. And I don't know, I could kind of tell in the moment that there must have been another scene after this in some other version. I'm glad the other scene wasn't there, but it still didn't feel perfect.
The ending of this is one of my favorite parts, I think, of this movie. Especially I mean, the entire last 15 minutes with Roy Batty's speech, and I think when he finds Yarigami, realizes that Gaff, has been here and didn't kill Rachel. And then when you actually go to the elevator, the camera becomes a bit unstable, which doesn't happen a lot in the film. So I don't know. I really enjoy the ending, especially when it cuts to that kind of energetic music in the credits music.
Oh yeah. Well, you just described the ending really well there. Thanks for that. What do you like the ending thematically?
Yeah, because I think Roy Batty's speech about he's talking about all these kind of beautiful things that he's witnessed, and he doesn't kill Deckard. It kind of as I said, kind of kicks him into life a bit, or makes him less apathetic, I guess. Now he has this kind of purpose to take Rachel away, escape. He actually has something to do that's not kill other people, other replicants.
Yeah. So I love that whole speech too, and I've got some interesting trivia about it I'll get into, but I love that speech. It's my favorite scene in the movie, definitely. I think Roy's my favorite character in the movie. I mean, not that there's a lot of characters to really like in the movie; they're all kind of pretty boring. But Roy's a decent character. He had that great speech at the end. Do you think, for you, Fitzy, then, does the origami whole unicorn thing, which is obviously throwing out the idea is Deckard a replicant or not, which is, I kind of say it rolling my eyes because it's the most, asked question ever. Do you like that aspect of the ending, though?
As in, confirming that Deckard's a replicant?
Well, I guess, do you like that the ending leaves you on that note at all and kind of chooses... Because I feel like that's kind of the main tonal point that the movie's trying to leave you on, is to kind of leave that question hanging in the air.
Oh, I don't know. I didn't really get that from it. I just kind of saw it as kind of a second chance for him, Gaff, because Gaff was there because Yarigami, but I don't
Right.
Yeah, I guess if you're looking at it that way, it's kind of not good because I don't really care about that question. If Deckard's a replicant, because I don't think it's really important to the theme of the story. But
yeah, I don't want to get bogged down into it because I feel like that's what so much Blade Runner discussion is. But do you think that Deckard's a replicant? Because I do not, definitely do not. But it seems like you do, Finny.
Well, it's this weird thing where I can discuss the question on a lot of levels. In universe, trying to look just completely within the context of the story, who knows? It really could go either way. And like Fitzy said, I honestly don't give a shit. I needed to care about Deckard as a character for me to remotely want to answer that question, and I do not care. Either way, whatever. So on that level, it's it's impossible to tell. So I'm kind of exhausted just even thinking about it. And then that kind of also applies when you think about it from a real world perspective, the creator's vision perspective, because so many times Ridley Scott has said Deckard's a replicant. Harrison Ford has said we've had discussions about this with Ridley Scott and he's definitely not a replicant. The writers have said he's not a replicant. Everyone's got a different opinion who made this movie. And so in that way, that's another aspect of who knows. But sorry, Jane, that was a long-winded answer. To get to your answer, I think the movie doesn't work at all, really, if he is a replicant. I think, I agree with you. I feel like he can't really be a replicant.
Yeah.
For the movie to really kind of have its, to hold any resonance in what it's trying to do with the very little we have to grasp on with Deckard as a character at all. Is his humanity, is the isolation, the loneliness he feels, like we talked about earlier. And if he's not human, then... okay, as I'm saying this out loud, I'm thinking maybe that's kind of the idea that doesn't matter, AI can obviously feel these things too. But the dynamic between Roy and Deckard, it feels like he has to be human for it to really make sense.
I think it's an interesting irony that, as I said, that Roy is kind of the more human one and Deckard's just kind of this motionless robot. And him, Deckard actually being a replicant kind of diminishes that a bit, I think.
Yeah. But
Yeah.
Tyrell does say, their goal is to make him more human than human, so it makes sense that Batty is more compassionate than what Deckard is, so.
Also, he's more like curious as well, I guess.
Yeah, exactly what you just said, Jaden. That just doesn't work if Deckard's a replicant, right? I don't think it does. I mean, we had to get that discussion out of the way, I guess.
Yeah.
But my biggest, so I think, I think he's not, but I also don't care. And if maybe it is just a thing of over time, because that is one of the main curiosities of the film, and because exactly like you said, Jan, because so many people, everyone discusses that point to death. Maybe because of that, because I'm kind of projecting all that knowledge of why everyone talks about that onto the movie. Maybe that's why it kind of falls flat in that area, because if the movie is trying to make such a big point of that question, which again, maybe it isn't, but if it were to be, I feel like to remotely care about the question, I have to care about Deckard, and since I don't care about Deckard, I don't care about the question. So if that were the intent, the movie fails royally. But like I said, I don't know if it actually is trying to do that.
Yeah.
You didn't seem to think it was, Fitzy, so that's interesting.
I do think there are enough. I don't want to go back to the question for too long, but I do think there are enough like hints that Deckard is a replicant, just with the dream of the unicorn. And like, I think there's I don't know if it's in this cut, but there's like this scene where you can see like the orange, like the flash in his eyes, like Rachel has and like replicants have.
That's a really cool effect. I like that a lot.
Yeah. From what I remember from the book, like there's never any question that he isn't human. So that's how I approach the film, and that's why I just neglect any idea that he is a replicant, because that's not what Dick wanted. So
yeah, I think it's definitely more of a Ridley Scott thing that he kind of added in and wanted to push.
Yeah, and that's where a lot of my problems from the film come from. The fact that Scott butchered Dick's novel. I mean, some part of me is thankful because of that we got 2049, but like the other part of me hates it because like it's so different to what is actually in the book. So yeah,
I completely agree with that, Jaden. And building upon it, that idea of Ridley Scott going in his own direction. One of the main issues I have with the movie is that I feel like no one. There's kind of ironically this whole thing about with the edits, who has creative control? Is it Warner Brothers? The way they try to insert voiceover into the movie, Ridley Scott got his final cut out. Obviously, the script writers, whose vision is this movie? And a bit of trivia to kind of link it. Director Ridley Scott regards this as probably his most personal and complete movie. I haven't seen a lot of Ridley Scott movies, so you guys will be able to speak to this more than me. That's just based off this movie alone, though. That is insane to me that he believes that, because I don't think this movie gives me the vibe of no one. There was no vision for this movie whatsoever. Everyone was just coming at it with their different ideas. Ridley Scott, like you said, was trying to push this Deckard as a replicant agenda, apparently. Harrison Ford thought it was bullshit, so much so that he had to, read these terrible lines of dialogue, and the scriptwriters seem to disagree as well. And I believe those same writers also wrote 2049 as right to that as well. So that kind of carries over this weird narrative of they clearly see it a different way too. And that kind of just leaves me as a viewer just kind of flabbergasted of this movie just kind of feels hollow as a result. It doesn't really feel like anyone's trying to achieve anything with it. And it's just kind of all over the place. Do either of you guys agree with that? Or am I a rambling old man?
I do think it's weird that Scott identifies this as his most personal film, but if you do look at his career, I don't exactly think he. I mean, none of his films really seem to be overly personal. I mean, you've got The Martian or The Alien or Hannibal, Thelma and Louise. I mean, none of these films seem like they'd really have too much of a connection to him. So I think it does make sense that Blade Runner might be the one that he does want to connect with, but yeah.
That's fair. I mean, I wouldn't think Exodus, Gods and Kings would connect with him as much. Is that something that bothered you at all, Fitzy?
Not really. I don't know. I still think this movie feels very very Ridley Scott.
Oh, okay.
I don't know.
How's that, do you think?
Maybe it's just the technical aspects because, like, if you look at something like Alien, that's something that's quite obviously one of the biggest strengths of Alien, or it's like visual effects and stuff.
Okay, yeah, because I was going to ask, as someone who hasn't seen Alien, do you see a kind of visual crossover between the two? So, yeah, the answer is yes, I guess.
They're not all that similar in like style, but in terms of just like the visual effects achievements, I think.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, I'm just kind of looking at it from that perspective, I guess.
Yeah, I get that. Because, no, you're like the sweeping shots of the cars driving places, of which there are plenty, which kind of is also a criticism, but no, they're all really impressive. And my understanding is, I believe in this final cut that we watched, it was they didn't pull a George Lucas. They didn't visually enhance everything, but like there were some visual enhancements to those shots. Like they did clean up some of the I think some of the cars that looked a bit messy prior, just because of chroma keying restrictions and shit like that. So I think it was a bit cleaned up, but for the most part, yeah, I think the visual style was very much still intact. Those VFX, and it was very impressive. Absolutely.
I was going to say that, like, I think Alien kind of, like, the way the story is told is not super similar because it's way more interesting, but like I feel like that you kind of have like a similar case of where like it is just like slow and brooding, and then like and it builds to these quick moments of action that are really really exciting. And I think like one of the most popular or like most famous tropes of horror films is like that silent stalker, and I think the Alien is one of the most effective type of silent stalker things. So like the way that they incorporate that into telling the story, and like the way it's so like it builds this tension so well, and that's why you can allow for it to be slow, whereas this one it does nothing when its pacing is poor.
Yeah.
Well, I think like the first half an hour of Alien is more like context and atmosphere building, and then like it's pretty fast paced from there, or at least it feels pretty fast paced. But
it's been a while since I've seen it, so I might be misremembering, but I thought there was like a bit of downtime between each like peak.
Yeah, there's a little. Yeah, you're right there. It still does feel tense in the moments where not as much is happening, I guess.
To me, what you just described sounds like a well-paced movie, which is something I don't think this movie is. Yeah, exactly what you said, 100%.
But when you talk about this being not well-paced, I think it falls more to the script writers than it does to Scott. Oh, I mean, I guess it depends on whose vision you're seeing. I guess it depends on what vision of the movie you're seeing. So, I mean, who knows? Yeah.
Mm.
It's fun having alternate cuts because you can just shove blame everywhere else.
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. I think the blame for the pacing kind of falls in all camps. Probably not the actors, actually, but I think, a compelling script with a compelling plot and a compelling investigation and characters would have helped. And I also think a tighter edit and more carefully. Yeah, it's funny that this is the final cut. Like, this is the definitive cut of the movie, because I think it's actually kind of a shit edit. But in terms of the pacing, exactly. So I feel like it kind of could fall in both camps.
I think aside from the scene at the end where Roy and Deckard are in like their little like chasing. I think one of the more exciting scenes is when he goes to kill the burlesque dancer or whatever she is. I think because like that's kind of like where like you kind of have a bit of action, and I felt like that one, like that part there was built well, and like because like there I was invested in him tracking down the scale and going from place to place to eventually getting there. I think once he actually gets there, it kind of teeters off a bit, but like when the chase ensues and then like it ends, but then you have Leon standing there again. I think Leon, like, to get to that quickly was a bit unexpected. So I think like the fact that Leon made an appearance kind of heightened the excitement as well. But then like the next scene in his apartment is just absolute arse. So I mean, it comes right back down. So yeah,
that was kind of a standout sequence, just because of how, you know, you've been kind of sitting through a lot of monotonous shit for a while, and then you get that. Yeah. So I agree with you there. It's just the chase was also kind of clunky. It was weird.
Oh, yeah,
it was this weird thing where Harrison Ford was, because I agree with you. I liked it felt different, but then also the way he was progressing through the set and you know, so many extras everywhere. It did really add to the aesthetic. I liked all that side of it, but there was zero tension in the chase because, number one, there was no music, which is a weird choice. But secondly, the chase kind of, it happened like 4 times, I think, where Harrison Ford, you know, gets kind of left behind in a crowd somewhere, and he's like looking around for her, and then he spots her in the distance or hiding somewhere, and then he goes to like pull out his gun, and then she gets away, and that happens like 4 times, and it was like, okay, this is kind of dull when it's paced out like this.
It made no sense for her to keep on stopping like that. So
yeah, exactly. No, exactly. You're 100% right. That was weird. We talked about Roy and his terrific speech. Rutger Hauer, maybe I'm saying that wrong, who plays Roy, came up with many inventive ideas for his characterization, like the moment where he grabs and fondles a dove. Fondles. Is that a word? I've never heard of it. Is that when you carry a bird, like cradle it? Well, okay. Leave me out to dry on the word fondles. He also improvised the now iconic line, "All those moments will be lost in time like tears in rain." He later chose "All Those Moments" as the title of his autobiography. So there you go. That line of dialogue is by far the best line of dialogue in the movie. And it's not even close. And that stood out to me in the moment he said it. Yeah, exactly. And the fact that he improvised it, honestly, only emphasizes to me how bad the script is. It's like, oh, holy shit, this script actually has got some substance. Oh, but the actor did that. Sorry. You know, it's just this, it's funny how such a highlight, such a strong aspect of this movie was something that the filmmakers, you know, didn't even put in there. So
when Gaff says she won't live, you know, but then again, who does? I think that's a good line of dialogue. Don't know if that's a script or what, but yeah.
You got to question everything now. Who came up with that line? What do you like that line, Fitzy? Because I kind of like it too on a surface level, but I don't know if I really understand what's going for. If it's just meant to be saying like, oh well, you know, Rachel, who really lives, we're all just kind of slaves like replicants. Is that the idea, or am I kind of thinking about it too generally?
I don't know. I just like his delivery of the line, I guess, and his like acknowledgement that he's like been to Deckard's place that didn't kill Rachel. That's about it, I guess.
Oh, okay. No, that's fair. I liked it for that too. So you mentioned how you liked the ending so much mainly because of that aspect that he decided to leave Rachel alive. You mentioned about how he kind of gave him a second chance there. Is that why you like it? Because it kind of leaves you on that hopeful note?
I just like everything from Roy Batty's speech up to the ending, pretty much. Because, like, the speech is really brilliant, and then, I don't know, I just like, you know, him finding Rachel at the apartment, you know, she kind of has that faith in him, and then he finds the origami, and it's just a weird thing where I just like kind of every element about the ending. Like, I like the unstable camera movements, as I said, like just at the very end, and the kind of energetic cyberpunk song that the credits, you know, cut to. Yeah, I don't know. I like that. Yeah, I like that he didn't kill Rachel as well and gave him that second chance in a way.
Yeah. I think that's a cool beat, you know. But I hate to go back to this. It's just that, unfortunately, every strong aspect of the movie, because I agree with you, kind of ties back to, but I don't care about Deckard. So, you know, it's unfortunate. If I cared about Deckard, I'd be like, that's dope.
Right. Well, that, like, I feel like that's the one kind of stretch of the movie that I do, like, care about his character in a way.
Yeah, right.
Just because he has kind of this purpose now, and yeah.
we've kind of skated around it a little bit. We've brought it up in different contexts, but let's just tackle it head on, I guess. Did you like Harrison Ford's performance, Jaden?
I mean, I thought it was fine. Yeah, I mean, like his role was meant to be that of, you know, the detached, you know, detective who's kind of just, you know, a bit lost, I'd say. I mean, like, you know, he does that effectively, I guess. I mean, like, and because he's meant to play as that character, I mean, it is hard to connect with him. But I mean, like, I think it's fine.
I agree with you. I think the performance is fine. It has its weird moments. I don't know. And the one standout scene is when he's like talking very strangely to the dancer, asking about the snakeskin. Like, there's only the one scene like it, and he kind of puts on a high pitched voice, and it was very strange. I don't know. I would assume that's a Ridley Scott direction thing. So I don't think Harrison Ford's going to like read the script and go, "Oh, I've got the perfect idea for this scene. I'm going to do that voice." That was very peculiar to me.
Well, he was just impersonating, like, you know, someone from. He was just trying to put on a bit of a disguise, but you know, it didn't really make a sense as to why he didn't need to put on a disguise when this person hadn't seen him before. Yeah,
exactly. That was what was weird about it, and the fact of like Ridley Scott wanted to do that voice. It was just it was just weird. It was just strange. It took me out of the movie for a minute. I was like, what is this? What is this tone of this scene that we're going for here? It was weird. But how do we like? Because Rachel, I feel like, is kind of the other main component of the movie with Deckard. How do we feel about her?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'm kind of with you with that with that sound reaction. Yeah.
It was good, I guess. I don't know.
Are we on the same page? I think you agreed with me earlier, Jaden. Are we on the same page that their dynamic is strange and the whole scene where they kiss is just awkward?
That's terrible. I mean, like, I forgot about the way that unfolded until this. I mean, like the fact that, like, you know, I don't care how much you justify it as, you know, they have feelings for each other, so it's alright or whatever. But like in that instance, she didn't want to. So I mean, like, you know, that is straight up rape. I mean, like, he tells her, you know, say that I love you, and like that's such a disgusting like addition to it as well. So like having that as like the foundation of their relationship is really weird. I'm just trying to remember from the book. I thought
exactly.
Because Rachel rocks up in the book and she helps him, but I can't remember if they have an affair or not because he has a wife. But like I think they might. But like I mean, like, yeah, I just hate the way that like they chose to direct that scene.
Absolutely, and like you said, it's the foundation of Deckard, really, this whole connection that he's trying to be building, and that's what we're meant to be rooting for right there. And yeah, it's so strange. It's so bad. It's apparently Harrison Ford and Sean Young had issues on set. They weren't getting along at all, and you can just feel it in the scene. You can just feel like these people don't like each other. And it was it was so awkward. Yeah, I agree with you 100%, Jan. It was weird.
And like the worst case is that like in this, like in 2049, they kind of build upon that. And, you know, we kind of have this whole spectacle of, you know, the fact that she gave birth or whatever, you know. And like the fact that it's, I mean, like this is more of a fault on 2049's part, but the fact that they kind of had this miracle come from such a, you know, perverted and disgusting like occasion. Like from, yeah, I don't know. I just really hate that. Like that's like, yeah, I mean, you know, yeah.
Because it is really the only scene we get of Deckard having this emotional connection to someone else. And that feels like it should be a pivotal moment in the story. Yeah, and you're left with that. And then especially, you know, if you think about the theatrical cut, where the ending is literally them driving off into the wilderness, like, oh, happy ending, these two lovebirds get to be together. Yeah. And that's where the connection formed. Yeah, it falls flat so hard. Are there any other characters we should touch on? We got Sebastian, how he built his little robot dolls. I kind of liked that. I thought that was kind of a weird parallel with the replicants and shit and how he built them to be his friends. I thought that was kind of, you know, it's pretty straightforward philosophical stuff, and I kind of liked it. I mean, we got Pris. She's alright, I guess. Her gymnastics was kind of weird. But
when I like all I could think about when she was doing that was like remember that video clip from one of the Sia songs? Can't remember, and like it looked exactly like that. 50, do you know what I'm talking about?
I don't, but she did look like Sia. That's true. I didn't think of that.
No, he's like in the music video. She's I'm pretty sure it's Maddie Ziegler, and like she's just like dancing around in like an apartment, and she's like in the same like kind of like skin tone thing, and like her hair's kind of all over the place. And like that's all I could think about,
Yeah, so she was alright, I guess. I did like the scene where sorry, Fitzy. I did like the scene where she's like sitting really still, and Harrison Ford's like looking around and shit. I kind of like that. That was cool. I don't know why. It just kind of stood out to me. But yeah, Fitzy, sorry, you go ahead.
JF Sebastian, his character always annoys me, and I don't know why. It just annoys me as a character.
That could be a good answer to this week's question. Why does he annoy you?
He just said he doesn't know.
I don't know. How he just gives up. How he just like takes him and doesn't put up. He can't really put up a fight, but he just kind of. He's like on their side, and then he's not. But they're going to kill him anyway, and he just kind of accepts it. I don't know.
Oh yeah.
But like he brings up how he's only 25, but he looks like that because he has like a disease. So maybe he just like thought he doesn't want to put up with it anymore. He's kind of like a Benjamin Button type thing, or is it the reverse Benjamin Button? I think it's reverse, yeah. Where he's growing too old too quickly. So maybe he just didn't want to put up with that anymore, and it's like, yeah, might as well.
The only I feel like main remaining chunk of the movie we haven't even talked about is the whole final conflict with Deckard and Roy in the abandoned apartment. Their whole battle, I guess if you want to call it that. Their conflict. I thought this was all really weird, and I don't know what the idea was for this, but it definitely didn't work as an action sequence. So I don't know. Maybe that wasn't the idea. Which would be fine if it was meant to be kind of just I don't know, like these opposing forces, kind of more of a ideological battle between man and machine, maybe, and you just kind of have the dialogue between them to kind of represent that. Then that's an alright idea, but it didn't really do that for me either at all. It was just strange how Roy kept howling like a wolf and jamming his head through walls and shit. I don't know. Did that work for you, Fitzy, at all?
No, it was pretty boring, I guess.
Yeah, it was boring, yeah.
And even, like, the build-up to the battle, or the build-up, where they're showing Pris, she's, like, still... It feels like they show her like that for, like, a minute, and then Deckard's just walking to the apartment for a good while. It's kind of... Yeah.
How about you, Jaden? How do you feel about the whole final bit? Because, the point where he started, like, howling, I actually thought was almost funny. It was just so strange.
I remember the first time I watched it, I thought it was really weird. But this time, I liked it, but, like, it doesn't make sense as to... Because, like, if they wanted to drive home the point that, like, the machines are kind of like the monster type thing, and, he's the wolf chasing, the man, and, like, he's busting his head through walls, and he's, breaking fingers and shit. I mean, like, then, like, it'd be weird, but at least it makes sense, story-wise. But because, like, they then do, like, a 180, and, like, Roy just, like, just becomes, like, super peaceful and, like, preaches the good word, I mean, it feels weird, but, like, I do like the way it looks. I mean, like, the way that his face is covered in, like, dust and blood, and, like he's like this kind of like savage look in his eyes, and it's contrasted by what he says. I mean, like, I do like that kind of part, but, like, it doesn't really make sense as to why he did start healing. But yeah, kind of indifferent about it. I'm indifferent about a lot of the things in the film.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like the movie does a lot of things where there's always an element to appreciate about something. Normally, it's visual, but what's actually happening? Normally, that's where this movie really lets down, I think, is the literal. What is actually happening in person to these people is just really dull and random and strange. The whole final battle thing is just weird. And yeah, we've gone over 50,000 things that are kind of just weird about this movie. But, I mean, yeah, the visuals are cool. I'll quickly add some trivia to what I mentioned earlier about the terrible voiceover. According to screenwriters David Webb Peoples and Hampton Fancher, who had become close friends, when they first saw the movie, they each thought the other person had written the voiceover, and despite the fact that they both hated it, they told one another that they loved it for fear of insulting the other's feelings, But the person who actually wrote it was some other random screenwriter who wrote the voiceover by himself. Pretty funny. And although Philip K. Dick saw only the opening 20 minutes of footage prior to his death on March 2nd, 1982, he was extremely impressed and has been quoted by Paul Simon, whoever the hell that is, as saying, "It was my own interior world. They caught it perfectly." However, neither director Ridley Scott nor screenwriter David Webb Peoples actually ever read Dick's novel. Which is, yeah.
I can't remember exactly, but like the world feels more vibrant, and I mean, like it's. I mean, like what's on screen, like what Scott's vision is, like it's much grittier. I mean, like, and it's in like symbol changes. I mean, like, what's the replicant? That's like the dancer, or whatever she is. Like she's a burlesque dancer. Like, you know, in the novel, she's like she's an opera singer, and I mean, like it's you know, it's a big change that like kind of. Well, it's a small change, but like it shifts the tone of the film. And I mean, like that's one of the easy examples to point out. But like, there's it's a lot of like even like the apartment building that Sebastian lives in. Like in the novel, it's nowhere near as, you know, like it's nowhere near as like dilapidated as what what it's shown in the film. So I mean, like yeah, and I mean, like, so, like, because of these and, like, the way that, like, each thing, like, everything works together, like, I really don't see Dick's novel in this film.
No, yeah. If someone hasn't read it, yeah. It's so weird to me that they just chose to kind of... I mean, I don't think every loose adaptation of a film from a novel has to be exactly the same or anything. I think it's cool that they took those changes if they wanted to change them, but... Yeah, it's strange that they didn't even read the novel and just kind of... I feel like that just adds to what I was saying earlier about what was the idea for this movie, what were they doing?
I think in terms of, like, adapting a novel, I think, like, Alex Garland went a good way about it. Because, like, when he adapted Annihilation, he read the book years ago, and then he wrote his script based off what he remembered, but then added in his own things to fill in the gaps. So, like, then, you know, you had an amalgamation of his vision and, you know, the author's thing. So, like that would have been better for this film. I mean, but then we wouldn't have got 2049, I guess. But, you know, like, you know, like, there's just, I don't know. And, like, I hate the way, like, it treats the source material with a bit of disrespect. I feel like the fact that it is so different. And, like, that's what I don't like as well, you know.
Yeah, I get that. That's really interesting that he did that. I had no idea for Annihilation. I think that's a great way to handle it because... you kind of, without even having to consciously do it, you're automatically, you know, rooted in the source material, you understand it, but you're also not tied to it because you just can't remember it explicitly. Let us score Ridley Scott's Blade Runner out of 10. Fitzy, proceed.
I'll give it a 6. I think the technical achievement and the visuals and all the good stuff about it would possibly be like, you know, an 8 if it was just paced better, or if I was more invested into it. But I was very bored by it, so I'm trying to weigh kind of, you know, the good stuff and the bad stuff about the movie. So I'll give it a 6.
I'll give it a 4. I think it's close to bad. I think the only thing that saves it from being straight up bad is the visuals, how impressive they were for the time, naturally how revolutionary they were, how innovative they are, the music, and I think there are a handful of moments here and there that are redeeming and are like the speech that was improvised by the actor, Roy's actor at the end, and there are a handful of moments like that in the movie where I'm like, okay, this movie has something to it that I can appreciate. But yeah, I think it really fails in so many areas, and it's a shame. It's a shame. I wish I liked it more. But I also like wasn't super bored watching it this time. Like I was definitely bored. Don't get me wrong. But because I knew what to expect, because I knew what this movie was, seeing it before, because it didn't surprise me how bored I was. that doesn't really bring it down a whole lot. But if this were a first viewing, it might even be lower because of how bored I was. But yeah, I knew what to expect.
Yeah, I'm kind of conflicted about what to give it. Like I said before, I do think I had a better time watching it, and I think it goes to what you were saying about, you're bored but not as bored, and I felt the same way this time as well.
Yeah.
But like, yeah, I have too many issues with like, the book adaptation stuff, and like Roy and Rachel's, not Roy, Rick and Rachel. Wow, Roy, Rick and Rachel. Deckard and Rachel's relationship is too. Yeah, that's a major turn off, and it kind of shouldn't be, but it's I don't know why it affected me a lot more this time watching it. I'm gonna give it a 6 as well, because like Fitzy said, I mean, like, there are a lot of technical achievements, and I think there are a lot to be celebrated, but and I did enjoy it. That's the key difference this time than the last time. Last time I didn't enjoy it, but this time I did, despite there being a lot of stuff I don't like. So yeah, a 6.
Yeah, awesome. I definitely enjoyed it more too. Let's get into news chat. This week, we've got another update in the Tenet saga, unfortunately, which is very disappointing for us. But so Tenet has been delayed indefinitely at this time. It was July 17th, as we know, pushed to July 31st, pushed to August 14th, now delayed indefinitely. Crazy to think in an alternate universe we would have seen this movie by now, but alas. The reason for the delay at this time, even though it was very possible it was going to be delayed again anyway, as a matter of fact, it probably was. But the reason that it was delayed specifically now was as a result of China imposing a 2-hour limit on all films played in cinemas, because they do not over there want to keep people in enclosed spaces for more than 2 hours at a time. So because of that rule, that is why Tenet has been delayed. However, Warner Brothers is sticking by the fact that they continue to use the phrase for Tenet only available in theaters. So unless if you had any thought or concern or whatever that Tenet was going to be released on VOD maybe at some point soon, then I think that hope is definitely not happening. There's no chance of that. They're sticking to the theater release whenever it will be. Do you guys have anything to say about this? How many times can we talk about Tenet delays?
I don't know. I wouldn't mind if it went to VOD, actually. It would obviously be better in the cinemas, but yeah, I don't know.
Yeah, jumping off that, Fitzy, I actually agree with you, where on paper, obviously I'd much prefer to see it in a theatre, no doubt. But when I think back, the amount I love Christopher Nolan movies, I've only ever seen one of them in a theatre. And does that really affect my enjoyment of them that much? Not really. So, I mean, I would much prefer the theatre release, but if it goes on much longer, then I would definitely just take a theatrical release. A VOD release. I'd be totally down just to watch it on my TV because, yeah, it's going to be, it'll be fine. I'm sure I'll enjoy it just as much. Jaden, do you believe that is heresy, as you said?
Yeah, no, I'm the same. I've only seen one Nolan film in the cinema, and that's just because, I don't know, when Interstellar came out, I was 13, so I didn't really care about, that kind of stuff that much. But by the time Dunkirk rolled around, I was into it. But I definitely want to see this in the cinema. I mean, this is a 2.5 hour epic, and this is the experience I want. And like you said, I mean, it's not going to affect my I've lost myself. It's not going to affect me too much, but yeah, it's just what I want,
Yeah. Well, if you were faced with the dilemma of, say, Tenet is available right now to rent on your TV, or you can wait 1 month to see it in the theatre, what would you do? Really? Okay.
Yeah, cool. Well, I'd wait a month too, but it's going to be a very long time.
Yeah, exactly. Okay, so then, that's interesting. Where would you draw the line, Fitzy? How long would it have to be for you not to wait?
I think if it's coming out like late next year, I'd rather just have it now.
Late next year?
Or like just next year in general, I guess.
Oh, okay. Right. I was going to say, you're happy to wait like over 12 months?
No, I wouldn't be, is what I'm saying. Like, if it was coming out next year, I'd rather just like see it now on VOD, is what I mean.
Right. So if it, yeah, okay, gotcha. So, okay. If it were 2021 at all, you'd do VOD.
Yeah.
Right.
I think there's no way this can release straight to VOD. I mean, did you mention that? I mean, like the fact that it's going to be such a waste of money if it does. I mean, like they spent like over 200 million apparently. Like, there's no way they will allow for this to release to VOD because they'd just lose way too much money. But then, like, in terms of a cinema release as well, like they can't risk a staggered release because then you run like the huge risk of piracy. And then also, I mean, like a lot of a movie's marketing is done by word of mouth. I mean, word of mouth is like the best marketing there is, no matter what, there is. So if it is released, say here in Australia, and it turns out it's not that great, by the time it does open in the US, all those people that were super hyped to see it because they heard it's, they think it's going to be amazing. If it turns out, it's a 6 out of 10 or a 10 out of 10, a lot of that opening weekend type of stuff, internationally is going to go away as well. So, I mean, the only way the only way I think they can release this is a worldwide release. And yeah.
Bill and Ted VOD. September. Are you excited for Bill and Ted Face the Music, Fitzy? Hype levels.
Well, I haven't seen any other ones, so I guess that'll be fun.
Zero.
Seeing the other one. So,
oh yeah.
But Keanu Reeves also, didn't he make a comic book this week? I think.
Did he?
That's funny.
Oh, I think I saw that. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is funny. Good for him. Everything he does is a masterpiece. So I'm sure it's great.
And sorry, just on that note, do you actually think Keanu Reeves is that good of an actor?
Yes, I do, yes.
Really?
That's a funny question. I like it.
I mean, because
yeah, definitely, yeah.
Right, look, I haven't exactly seen a lot of his stuff, but his performance in The Matrix is nothing special. I mean, in John Wick, it's fine. I mean, but that's what it's meant to be. He says yeah every couple of seconds, that's it, and that's So I mean, it's good in that, but that's what it's meant to be. Knock Knock is he shitting? I mean, because the way he just delivers his lines, it's not good.
I don't know. I totally know what you're saying, and I think that's a fair point. But I think I just see it's just Keanu Reeves. He's just delivering the lines. He's in a realm of his own in terms of how he acts, and I don't think it's necessarily bad. I just think it's quite unique, and I think it's just how well that style gels with the project, as opposed to how bad he is.
I think he needs to be cast in the right movie in order to be good in that movie. Yeah.
Yeah.
That's why John Wick, I think, he does decently. But anything else, I mean, look at Speed or Point Break. He's nothing great,
Yeah, but they're still I feel like he still fits those roles, action kind of thing. If he was in a serious, drama kind of thing, he might not fit there, but action-y, adventure kind of things, I think he does really well.
I'm with you. Suck it, Jaden. We love Keanu. Keanu fan club.
Yeah. Probably shouldn't have said that because now the comments are all going to, destroy me, so.
All three of them, yeah.
Yeah.
Are you going to see Bill and Ted Face the Music on VOD, Jaden?
No, I've never seen any other ones. I do not care for the series. I mean, maybe. I don't know. I don't think so.
Yo, Mission Impossible won you over.
Yeah, but that's different. I mean, Bill and Ted is, just a dumb stoner movie. I mean, I don't really love stoner comedies that much.
Okay. Next up, we got may as well throw it out there. Quiet Place Part 2 was meant to come out, of course, in April this year, is now coming out in April next year. So, yeah. If you're waiting for that, then you have to wait a little longer. My apologies. I feel sorry for you. But yeah. I feel like we talked about this one before, but are you guys interested?
Yeah. I thought the first one was alright, but Cillian Murphy is in the second one, so yeah. That's cool.
Yeah.
I think A Quiet Place is an important cinema experience because, like, you know, it is a quiet place that you're watching it in, like, you know, like you remember the reports from when the first one came out and how people were like, you know, they hated, like, you know, hearing like a chip crunch in the cinema because, like, it ruined the, you know, thing. So, like, I think, like, being able to watch it in the cinema is, like, an important part of watching A Quiet Place, you know?
Oh, definitely. 100%. 100%. So, yeah, good that they delayed it then for that reason. Finally, we've got a Simon Pegg and Nick Frost Amazon series that I know nothing about, so take it away, Jad.
Oh, well, I mean, so that's what it is. It's a Simon Pegg, Nick Frost Amazon series. It kind of looks like, I've already forgotten the title of it. What's it called? Finny, did you write it down?
No. Sorry.
I'll find it. It kind of looks like it's going to be...
Simon Pegg, Nick Frost, that's all you need.
Yeah. It looks like it's going to be like a cross between, like, kind of like a X-Files, Grave Encounters type thing, but with, you know, the Simon Pegg and Nick Frost comedy thrown into it. What's it called? Because, like, it's like what it is. It's about, like, they're like ghost hunters type of thing. So it's meant to be like a comedic take on that.
Oh, yeah.
Truth Seekers. It's called Truth Seekers. Yeah, and like I don't know, like watching the trailer just looks funny. I mean, it's got that trademark Pegg and Frost, you know, dynamic. It shows that pretty well just there. So I'm keen to watch it. And I'm pretty sure
yeah,
I'm pretty sure this is from their same production because like they started their own studio. And I'm pretty sure these are the same people that did Slaughterhouse Rules. And I mean, like that's not the most loved film, but I love that so much because it's just so funny. So I mean, like if I can expect the same thing as that in this series, I'm keen for it.
Amazon putting out some interesting stuff. The Boys is coming back. I'm excited for that. Fallout. Yep, that's all we got for news. So now we've got to get into what we've been watching. Who wants to go first? Who volunteers as tribute? I've got nothing.
What about Hamilton, which you saw a couple weeks ago?
I mean that's true. That's true. But a film, a TV show, you know, does this count?
What about On the Basis of Sex?
All right, I'll go then.
Oh yeah, that's a movie I saw. Oh yeah. No, that's right. I saw that last weekend. Oh yeah. So on the basis of sex is this movie. It's got what's her face, Felicity Jones. It's got Armie Hammer. Armie Hammer? Yeah, that's it. Or Arnie Hammer. Armie Hammer.
Yeah, Armie.
Thank you. Okay, cool. Okay, him. And it's about the first female Supreme Court judge in the US and like her rise and shit. And it was pretty decent. It actually won me over because I thought the first act was terrible in my opinion because like the length to which the movie was trying to, you know, demonstrate white male bad, female good. Like it was, and obviously that's a totally fine message to convey, but like it's just the way in which it did it was so corny and so like absurdly hilarious. It was just funny. Like I can't even, just like the lines of dialogue are so over the top. No human being speaks like this to try and convey this argument. So that was hilarious. Oh, just the jokes that like, because she walks in, she like walks in on her first day at Harvard, and like there's all these like, you know, everyone in the sea is like looks exactly the same, just white dudes. And clearly, very intentionally, everyone looks exactly the same. Like, you know, there's not a bald dude. There's no dudes with like a mo, you know what I mean? They're not wearing anything different. So that's obviously a very deliberate choice. It was just kind of funny. But then, yeah, some of the dialogue that the principal, I guess, of Harvard, I guess he's a principal, the boss of Harvard or whatever kind of tells the females in the group. It's just like, dude, this is, I can't even describe it. Like, there's a difference between like, you know, being sexist and like just being so over the top sexist that like no human being, like, what he was saying it was obviously sexist, but it wasn't even like harmful sexist. It was like comically sexist. You know what I mean? I can't even describe it. Whatever. Point made. But the rest of the movie actually won me over. It had some solid performances. Once we kind of got out of that whole part of the movie, they wanted to emphasize that at the front, which I get. But once we actually got into the crux of the movie, which is this particular case that they were all working on, it won me over. I enjoyed that stuff. So yeah, that's it. That's a movie I watched.
Wait,
Now you've got to go.
is Hamilton not a film though?
It's a recording of a stage play.
Oh yeah, but I mean, it's like, film length kind of thing. You still watch it as you would a film.
I mean, sure. I mean, but it's not a film.
Yeah, but I mean,
Not
like,
real cinema.
you talked about TV shows you watch and stuff like that. So what's the difference with Hamilton?
Well, Hamilton is a play that's someone that they record.
The laws are completely different.
A production
with a play.
Yeah. To be clear, Fitzy, I'm sorry. I'm only being a smartass. I'll talk about Hamilton if you want. I'm being stupid. But it's not a film. But Hamilton, yeah. No, it was great. It was awesome. Highly recommend it. I knew nothing about it. Everyone raved about it. Apparently, it was this revolutionary musical that everyone wouldn't shut up about. And I was like, all right, well, I've personally never seen a musical actually have any kind of cultural resonance like this in 2020. So if that's happening, then it must be good, I guess. And I watched it, and it was phenomenal. Absolutely loved it. The music is dope. I don't like musicals at all. They just do nothing for me. But the music was dope, dude. Some of those songs are still stuck in my head. Just total bangers. And obviously that's what you want. And it's kind of a hip hop. It's a really interesting style. It's kind of a hybrid between just straight up hip hop music, rap, tons of rap, which I appreciated. And there's also your more traditional kind of vocal numbers as well, which I liked. But it's more so the characters are so well thought out. Kind of the characterizations of these historical figures are done really well, where they each had their own distinct arcs and character progression throughout the play, which is something that through my own limited knowledge of musicals, I've personally never experienced that. I've never been to a stage production or experienced one where it's not just. I mean, obviously, anyone involved in any form of stage production is immensely talented because, holy shit, you're inhuman. You're some kind of alien race to me if you can memorize that shit. But so you're immensely talented anyway. But the way in which these characters feel so distinct, and it's a credit to the script that all the songs are able to not just be bangers, but to also elevate the story so much. And the fact that I'm sorry, I'm sounding a bit weird if you haven't seen it, but the fact that each song kind of has its main hook or chorus, I guess you call it, or whatever. And how in other songs, and the later and later you get into the stage play, how those hooks from previous songs earlier kind of come back in the background, and the way that kind of elevates the story that's being told, where it kind of uses the fact that it's a musical to its advantage to convey themes is really clever. And I've never seen that. And just the stage movements and the blocking and everything, just tremendous. But I absolutely loved it. That's all there is to it. I'm looking forward to listening to it again, like not even watching it, just like listening to the songs, because it tells such a complete story through the music. And I think there's only like a handful of spoken lines of dialogue. Like the entire thing is conveyed only through music. So you can just listen to it and basically get a very similar experience, I guess, if you don't need the visual because you've seen it before. But there you go, Fitzy. Are you happy? I just rambled about Hamilton. So now you've got to go.
So you're a theatre kid now, Zach? Is that your new identity?
I'm a what kid?
You're a theatre kid.
Oh, I guess so. Shit. Damn.
Wow.
I've been converted.
So I saw Sunset Boulevard and Mulholland, rewatched Mulholland Drive at the start of the week. I watched Sunset because it's a big inspiration on Mulholland Drive from one of David Lynch's favorite films, I guess. So the premise is like there's this washed up old kind of actress, and she used to be famous and now she's not. And then I feel like the movie just told me that in 100 different ways. Like, she's washed up and delusional, and also she gets letters, and she's also washed up and delusional, and she's delusional. And I didn't like it. Sorry, cinephiles. But, yeah.
Wow.
Mulholland Drive. As Henry said, I think a couple of weeks ago, I think I looked up like the explanation after I watched it the first time because it's a really confusing kind of film. But on rewatching it again, it kind of there's a lot of clever tie-ins and things make a lot of more sense. So yeah.
Okay.
I saw Alien in at Readings.
Cool.
Very cool theater experiencing it, and Titan Deluxe or whatever it's called.
You didn't chuck us an invite?
No. Yeah. COVID and all that. Guys, just keep safe. No, I just don't want to see it with you guys.
Yeah, we know. Yeah,
still a cool movie. Very great. So that's Ridley Scott as well, and I saw Prometheus the next day, also by Ridley Scott. I think Prometheus has a very cool concept. It's like these guys are trying to find the creators of like the human race, the origin of Earth, and but it kind of devolves into a very like mediocre, alien type of movie. Get away from the monsters and the creatures and whatever, and it doesn't work as well in that regard because the characters aren't as relatable and well realized as they are in like Alien, for example, or that kind of movie. But it's still interesting, has its own atmosphere and philosophical ideas going for it, so also good.
Mm-hmm.
And Shirkers, which is this Netflix documentary, really interesting. It's about this. So in oh god, what's the country?
What's that country?
Singapore, yeah, that's right. I thought Singapore, yeah. These people make this film in 1992 called Shirkers. It's kind of the indie film, and the director of the film, this older guy, when all the other people, these three girls, they go to different countries, like one of them goes to England, two of them goes to America, he just keeps the footage and doesn't edit it or actually make the movie that he was supposed to. He just like keeps it for himself and basically doesn't tell them about it. And like it really sucked for them because it was something that was very personal and special to them. And so the documentary is about the director of the documentary is the person who wrote the script for it, and it was like the guy was like a mentor to him, and so it picks up like 20 years after all this, and it like tells us about the people involved, the guy, and it just kind of, it's about, I don't know, like filmmaking and I don't know, jealousy, I guess, and like how something that's so nostalgic and good can kind of be ruined, I guess. It's a very interesting documentary. Yeah, that's it. Alright, so this week Jane watched final.
Sorry to interrupt. Sorry to interrupt.
Oh,
I should say, because I probably edited out the barking, I should say that Jaden is currently not speaking because a dog is barking in the background.
Yeah, this is actually my voice, Liam's voice, not Jaden's.
Surprisingly, yes. So Fitzy's going to be reading out what Jaden watched for no particular reason, while Jaden quickly goes out and deals with the dog. So just lean that. Yeah, good.
Yep. So Jaden watched The Final Destination this week, and he thought that it was pretty bad.
Why did he think that, Fitzy?
Well, apparently he was looking for the original Final Destination, and he found this one, which I think is one of the later ones in the series, the fourth or fifth one, I'm guessing.
Right.
And yeah, so he saw
He
that.
thought it was trash.
He thought it was
Okay.
trash.
Yeah.
He saw Honeyland, and he thought it was pretty interesting, but he thought it focused on the neighbors too much and not, the subject. So
Right.
that's what Jane thought of that.
Nah,
Right.
I went into that thinking it was going to be a Maso film because it's made by Macedonian people. But then when you watch the film, it's all just about Turkish people. So that's what I was a bit
Oh, yeah. I was about to say that.
Excuse me, did anyone ask you to speak?
I'll take it over now because I think the dog stopped. Right. Scream 3, worst one yet, but not too bad. I watched Kill Bill Volume 2. Not as good as Volume 1, but still pretty decent. This one was overly long, but I understand why this one was longer because you couldn't exactly chop one of the chapters off this one and chuck it on the other one. But just some of the chapters were just like too long in length and just Tarantino needs to learn that, not everything in his films are as important as he thinks they are, some stuff can be cut out.
Right.
I then watched Mission Impossible, Rogue Nation, and Fallout back to back. Rogue Nation was pretty great, but they underused Hermione Caulfield way too much. I mean, she's a great actress, but they waste her as just, chucking her as the record store girl at the start and then killing her off the, whatever.
Great scene, though. Great scene.
It's killer scene. I mean, like, the fact that, it's like, you're like the way that it just shifts from, like, you think he's getting the mission, but then, that's terrific, yeah.
Such a good playing of conventions.
Yeah. Rogue Nation was pretty decent. Actually really quite enjoyed it. I think it's like the third best one, I'd say. Fallout though is just phenomenal. I think the Solomon Lane is such a brilliant character, and I think even though he does less in this film due to the situation, he's so much more intimidating. Just kind of being that menacing figure that's always there, and like as the audience, you just know he's going to get out somehow because that's what you expect from these films. And I mean, like you just know something is building up, and like the way that I think the biggest problem with it is that from the start, Mission Impossible has been about betrayal and backstabbings and double crossings. From the first one, from like the original dude, but whatever, he turned against them. So I feel like that's kind of become. That's kind of what you expect. I mean, in number 3, you have that one dude from the Force as well. And, in Rogue Nation, there's always something. There's always, a betrayal. So I feel like that's why when, a certain someone does something like that, it was a bit expected. But nonetheless, Fallout is phenomenal. I watched Glass, which is the conclusion of M. Night Shyamalan's Unbreakable trilogy.
Oh, yes, yes.
I mean, I think people unfairly. I think Glass gets unfairly reviewed. I mean, like, it was perfectly fine. I mean, to me, it's the exact same as Split and Unbreakable. I think they're all 7s. I think they all have their own strengths and weaknesses. I was really keen, like, when in Glass, when the doctor started describing, these are all just delusions and you're not actual superheroes. I was like, well, that's a huge slap in the face of the audience. But then, like, as they got more into it, I was like, oh, that's actually really cool and it makes a lot of sense, and I actually like that more. But then, they kind of 180 it again and stuff, and it's like, actually, I really enjoyed that. And then, like, Shulman's famous for his twists, and I think like the one that we get in Glass is very solid. Aside from you have the earlier ones about are they or aren't they superheroes, but then, like, the one that comes at like the very end of the film, like that's super solid. Finally finished The Outsider, which I mentioned on, like, I don't know, the first week of the first time I was on the show. That was really great. The tension and the way that some scenes are executed are just, probably some of my favorite moments of, just TV. Like, there's this, I think it's episode 8. There's just one scene where this figure's walking with, like, another, he's kind of taken away a little kid. and it's so menacing, just the way that the music and like the way that the crowd doesn't know what's happening because it just looks like it's another part of the festival or whatever, and like it's like that scene was really, really brilliant. And like, you know, there's others throughout the show as well. I think the first 2 episodes are standouts, but the series is overly long. You probably could have cut 3 episodes and chucked a little bit on the end of, you know, a few other ones to make it like 7 episodes instead of 10. But, you know, I think it's still pretty decent. Right. And then I finished off with The Haunting in Connecticut, which is trash. But, you know, it's just, you know, generic 2009 horror that over relies on, like, you know, high-pitched music and jump scares to scare you. But, you know, what are you going to do?
Well, yeah. Thanks for sharing, everyone. Let's do our question of the show. Last week we asked you to write in the comments what is a character that you dislike in a movie that you think is good. And Luke responded. He said, Harry Potter and the Goblet of Fire is a great movie. Hell to the yes. The setting is spectacular and the story is amazing, especially seeing the different schools and the tournament. While the characters are all interesting and fun to watch, here we go, there is only one who grinds my gears, twists my nose, the annoying itch on my back that I cannot satisfy. God damn it. Ron smells. Discuss. Wow. Dude, that's a great, like, essay topic sentence right there, I think. But thanks for writing it, Luke. Yeah, I think it's great. You know, I could definitely do a thesis on that.
I hate how I'm probably going to notice it now, or like next time I watch it.
The thing is, like that makes the character better. I mean, like, you know, this is giving you a 5D cinema experience. You know, the fact that it's so convincing that, you know, you get smelled.
It's immersive,
yeah.
I think, kind of contributing to Luke's point, I feel like the fact that that's the movie where they've got the long hair, you know, because you know how they kind of, at least I guess in the earlier ones, they kind of go for a different look in the different movies. Like 1 and 2 is kind of the same look. They grow up a bit in 3. 4's the one where they have the long hair, and then like 5 is when they fully form into what they become for the rest of the series, you know? So I feel like it's the fact that they have got long hair in Goblet of Fire kind of adds to it a bit. They look a bit scruffy, you know?
Yeah,
like you haven't had a shower.
Wow.
Got him. That was good. Is there anything else to say about Ron's and his aroma? Terrific. All right. What's your answer, Fitzy, to this question?
I actually had a hard time kind of thinking of one. But this might be a bad answer because we've done it on the show, but on the podcast. But W. Beauchamp in Unforgiven, you know.
Oh, dude.
The French one.
Dude. Stole my answer.
Oh, really? I was thinking you were going to say that. Oh, my God. But, he's just so out of place in that movie, and, like, he might be comic relief, but it's just too much, you know. But, that's hilarious.
Great answer. I completely agree with you. He pissed his pants, and I love that movie. I think it's so awesome, but 100% doesn't work in that movie. But another one that actually kind of is similar to me is he's definitely not as bad as that, but in The Last Samurai, which is, of course, we all agree a masterpiece of a film, Peter Pettigrew in that movie, whatever his name is, he's definitely not as bad. Like, he to be clear, like, he doesn't piss his pants or anything weird like that. I don't know, his dialogue and just the tone that actor brings doesn't quite work for me in that movie.
I also
definitely a lesser answer.
Yeah, I actually don't like Tom Cruise in that movie is a bit out of place. It's pretty shit movie, to be honest. What?
Jaden.
You see, I was going to say the Joker and the Joker, but the question is bad characters in a good film, so I can't mention that because it's a bad film, obviously. My answer is this little kid from The Third Man. I'm not even sure if he's even named, but like he pops up like, I don't know, 3 or 4 times throughout the movie, and like the way that his audio is mixed, it's horrid because his voice is just high pitched and it just comes out and it's disgusting. I hate, like, when you hear his voice, I actually want to cover my ears. It's like listening to Zach.
Yes.
I love taking shots at your voice, man. It's funny.
Thank you. I would too.
It's all jokes off, obviously, with a little bit of truth, but yeah, no, like, that kid's just so annoying, and I can't stand it. And I mean, like, I think it's a common problem in just kids in film. I mean, that kid from the Babadook is so annoying, but once again, that's a film I don't like, so I can't answer that. But yeah, I think kids in film's the easy way to go. Anakin Skywalker and the Phantom Menace,
Definitely.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, 100% best example. Now this is pod racing. All right. Jesus Christ, Zach. Thanks for tuning in to Cinema Effect this week. Bless your soul. Fitzy, what is the film that we shall be viewing next week?
Fargo.
Oh, damn it.
Directed
I thought you
by
finally forgot.
Directed by the Coen Bros. Comedy. And it is on... 1 second.
Stan?
Stan and
I think it's on
Foxtel.
Stan?
Yeah.
Okay.
It's on... Oh, wait, no, it's just on... No. Oh, wait, hold on. That's the stupid...
There's the Netflix series, but I
Yeah,
think the
yeah.
movie's
That's a
on
good
Stan.
series, but we're looking for the movie, aren't we?
Yes.
It's on Stan and Foxtel, so...
Gotcha.
There you go.
Wait, is it really a comedy? I did not know that at all.
It's a comedy.
Yeah.
Oh, weird. Okay, I didn't know that.
What's
I
that?
thought it was just a murder mystery.
Oh, no, it's very much a comedy, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, I'm going to have to adjust my expectations then. Interesting. Okay, cool. All right, let's get out of here. This has been a long one for us. But we got to get out.
Yeah.
Thank you, people. Let's wrap it up. Let's go. Thanks, guys. Appreciate you. Thanks for talking movies with me.
See ya.
Have a great rest of your week, everyone. And goodbye.